Ooh, we're live.
Hello.
This is Band of Bards Comics Chat, and we're live here with Matt Ligeti, everybody's favorite comic book Yeti. Thanks for joining in.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Oh, this is
Please
fantastic.
excuse my winter coat. Our heat went out this morning, and it's like less than 20 degrees out.
Oh,
And yeah, so we're chilling in a cold house, but we're getting our HVAC replaced next week. The tech came out and he's like, "Have you been feeling sluggish lately?" I was like, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "This thing's blowing carbon monoxide." I'm like,
ooh,
"Oh, that's why I was sleeping so well."
oh my gosh. So,
Yeah, so that's my day.
so the firefighter me is gonna stop right here and remind everybody to get carbon monoxide detectors and change
Yes.
your batteries every 6 months.
Yeah, and get better ones than the $3 ones on Amazon apparently, because
Yeah, the ones that plug into the wall sockets generally suck,
that's what that guy
and
said.
the cheaper combi units that are smoke detector carbon monoxide units generally suck. The kitty ones are nice. They're
Oh,
gonna run you like $50, but you need
better
like
than dying.
yeah, and you don't need to you need this carbon monoxide detector where like the right by the sources of where it's
Yeah,
gonna be, right? You don't need to have like every smoke detector for them. So
right.
I oof, that just set the red flag off in the back of my brain and it's still buzzing.
Yeah, so someone call the police and fire department if I just nod off during this. No, I'm just kidding. Things turned off. We're good. Should be good.
All
Yeah.
right. I'm getting a couple other things here set up that I have to do after we're live.
All right. All right.
But there's that. And, oh, hey, we actually have somebody join in right away.
Who
That's
is it?
amazing.
I said, who is it?
Yes. Longing Junk.
All right.
I don't know you, Mr. Junk, but thank you for showing up. Yeah, I'm just pulling up the Twitch in another browser here so I can kind of keep tabs on that a little bit. Usually, Chris doesn't love to come on to the live stream portion, but he'll
Okay.
pop into the chat so he can still
Ah,
engage with everybody in the chat. Oh, that's right. Long and Junk is CJ. Hey, CJ.
CJ.
I should write that down so I remember because I see you all the time.
Right.
Like, one of these weeks, I will remember. Ah, old gamer name. So, how old does that gamer name go back? Like, are we going into like the 90s? And it's funny too for anybody watching on YouTube because CJ is on Twitch, so his comments are coming in through the StreamYard, but anybody on YouTube's not seeing it. Oh,
Ah,
until I do that.
ah.
See, slowly but surely, I'm learning how to use all this stuff.
Oh, this is fun.
Oh man, so cool. Brain fart right away.
Yeah.
We are going to talk a little bit about, not just some generic, like, how did comic books get your start up and what was your last year looking at, but like, we got a few things planned out here. Um, I don't know. We talked about it before going live, but I don't know, Matt, if you have anything that you really want to hit on right off the bat, or do you want me to just throw stuff at you?
Oh, I mean, you can throw stuff at me whenever you want. So if you don't know me, I'm Matt Ligeti, Comic Book Yeti, comicbookyeti.com. We do reviews, we do interviews. Every now and then, uh, we do some investigative journalism. We do. Thank you. I shaved 5 minutes ago. It should grow back in by the time the thing is over. But Funny Fig said less hairy than I expected. Thank you. Um, yeah, we have a unique way that we review comics where we kind of break it down. Hey, we know no one really likes to read. That's something that's been beat into my head working in advertising for a few years now, and as a writer. And everyone's like, hey, no one wants to read that. So make it short, make it sweet, build in some speed bumps, which is like places where people can scan and still get the gist. And so that's how we write our reviews. And between that and my amazing puns, I guess
I
that's
love the puns.
yes, good. I think everyone else who doesn't love the puns has muted me by now. So
Yeah, see, I appreciate that. So, um, if anybody was unaware, I am a very proud graduate of, I can hold it up, St. Bonaventure University. Yes. A10, baby. Um, so, Bonas is well known as one of the top journalism schools in the Northeast. Now, my first time around, I studied history
okay,
because I was in ROTC and I knew that I had guaranteed employment after college, so I studied whatever.
sure,
Yeah. Don't do that if you're just starting to go to college. Don't do
right.
that. But when I got in the Army, it was pretty much useless. I couldn't get employment anywhere. So I
Oh,
went back to grad school
yep.
to there.
Yeah.
So very happy with that. But even though I wasn't a journalism major, there are just so many JMC majors on campus. Like you couldn't walk 10 feet without running into one. So one of them, one of my roommates for the last couple of years was a journalism major, and you know, you just kind of like learn some of that stuff because you're so close
Yeah.
to, and it's neat to see how the differences in writing styles between like how you would write a historical paper
Hmm.
or a research paper and then how you would write an article.
Yeah.
It's almost completely opposite.
It's weird. You have to like switch that over in your brain.
Yeah.
And I remember going to Mizzou or University of Missouri Columbia.
Cool.
It's a pretty good journalism school, and I was taking journalism classes, and this is 2010, and all the professors were like, "Don't go into journalism. Don't do it. It's awful." They're like, the pay sucks. If you do the Jimmy Elise, if you do like the journalism like in like outside of America in some of these countries, then you have to worry about people killing you. There's so little
Yeah.
protections for journalists, and it's just like there's no stability. And I was like, well, cool. So I spent all this time to get into the journalism school for you to tell me that when I've taken all these classes to train myself and or to get trained in journalism. I guess I'll go into advertising because that's part of the journalism school.
Yeah.
So, but I still have the journalism training and kind of used a little bit of that, used a little bit of advertising, kind of sprinkled it all in to make a magical Yeti potion.
I like it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's interesting. One of my classmates is now on the staff at Mizzou.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think her
That's awesome.
husband is the gymnastics coach for like the women's gymnastics team.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she's always posting on their meter and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, yeah, pretty cool stuff. Small world, always.
Yeah.
Very neat. It's nice to get to learn a little bit more about the folks behind Comic Book Yeti because this is I don't know how often you do interviews. I saw some of them on the website, which if you
Yeah.
didn't notice, we did throw up the link. If you
Yes.
haven't
Thank
gone
you.
to Comic Book Yeti before, make sure you go there. Amazing. Really, like the investigative journalism that you got into this past year was
Thank
amazing.
you. Yeah, we're looking at doing a bit more of that in 2022. So
Cool.
it's probably too early to talk about any specifics there until things develop a little bit more. But yeah, I'm excited. Jimmy always says like, I came on to do reviews and now I'm editing interviews and we're doing investigative journalism. What happened?
That's cool. It's funny how things will just take off in directions you never expected.
Yeah, seriously. It's one thing I kind of love about uh, writing and comic book criticism is it feels like the Wild West in a lot of ways. And comic books, like the industry in general, where it's like there aren't a lot of rails. You
Mm.
you can kind of just like build what you want to see in a lot of ways. And so I think that's cool. It's not like there aren't a lot of gates that you have to crash. Also, gate crashers, I love you. I did not mean for that to be a gate crashers pun, but Yeah,
sometimes they just happen.
they do. The puns,
Yes.
puns and butts. Yes, perfect.
Oh, wait, I'll tell. I say all the time I'm just not a very serious person, but I like to have fun. Right?
Absolutely.
Puns and butts.
Puns and butts.
Puns and
Puns and
butts.
butts and puns and butts.
um. Cool. So
Speaking of which, that pin is from
yes.
Krista, Knowledgeable Cabbage. They are our editorial director. Jimmy's in the chat. He's our interview director, or our interview editor. And then we've also got Wells, who is not here, it looks like, but he does review editing, whereas Jimmy does the interviews. And then we just brought Lynn Pitts on to help out with editing articles, because we're going to be posting more articles in 2022.
Ooh.
Yeah, and everyone has been tremendously helpful on the team, because if I was still trying to do this by myself like I did when I was starting out, I would have had 3 nervous breakdowns today.
I believe it. Oh, good.
Jimmy came to heckle. Fantastic.
Yes. That figures. That figures.
Someone mute Jimmy, please.
Yeah. Wait, I think I can put Jim into a timeout or something like that.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll have to look at that
We
later.
might be into that, though.
So how did Comic Book Yeti start? Like, what made you want to get into it? You kind of talked a little bit about it.
Yeah. So my daughter was 3. I stand with Jimmy. Traitor.
You don't need that hashtag.
My daughter was 3, and my wife was pregnant with our son, and she was just like feeling horrible, like just nauseous every day. And my daughter kind of was just she would watch movies or like do projects and stuff, so I couldn't really do anything like I wanted to do. Like if I went to go clean, she would just come and grab my hand and walk me back. So I started reading comics on my phone, and I had bought like a humble bundle of Image Comics. So I was like, oh well, like this is very different from Marvel stuff that I grew up on. Like I'm reading Sex Criminals, I'm reading Invincible, and I'm like, God, I want to talk about this with someone. And I'm like, hello, my lovely wife. Can I wake you up from your sleep so I can talk to you about Invincible? And it was just like not gonna happen. Like, when someone you love is like, and they're like, yes, I'm listening to you, and you obviously like very clearly care about this. But if you could talk about anything else, I would be happy. And it's like, yep, I get it loud and clear. Like, thank you for the support, but I don't want to like constantly bore you with my comics talk. And so I was like, wow, I don't really have a lot of friends who read comics. Like my buddy Dane got me back into X-Men, but he wasn't reading a lot of like stuff that wasn't big too. And so I'm like, well, I could write for a comic site, but I don't trust my writing ability that much, to be honest. And I don't know. I would read comic reviews, and I was like, this is like 12 paragraphs. This is a wall of text.
Oof.
And it's like, it either felt really masturbatory for the writer, who is just like, look at me, look how interesting I am. Or, you've got, I won't name the site, but a certain website who is just like, the writing's good. And then it's like, that's the review. And it's like, okay, well, there's got to be a good in between here.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, if I was gonna deconstruct reviewing comics and do it in a way that like my weird ADD brain could like actually want to read, or at least spend some good time scanning, what would that look like? And so it's like, okay, if I'm going to like give someone on the elevator like, hey, here's what The Wicked and the Divine is about, that's like, we've got a little section for that. Now, if I wanted to, like, if I'm having drinks and it's like, oh, you should totally read this thing, it's about this and this happens, and like, here's what I loved about it, here's what you might not like about it, but like, all in all, it's a good one. Like, that's kind of how the format came to be. And then I forced my friends to read it. And after I returned their children and other family members to them, they said it was a very good idea and to follow my heart. And so
And then they changed their address.
that's right, exactly. No, they helped. Again, my buddy Dane, he's a lawyer, so he kind of helped with like watchouts and like, what copyright stuff would be, and all of that, just with some advice.
Lawyers are good sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. And even Jimmy.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's so that was good. And then I was just like, well, I'm just gonna start writing this little blog, and I don't care if anyone reads it. I just have to get my thoughts out. Like, it's a way of organizing my thoughts.
Yeah.
Outside of like paying a therapist and just talking to them about comic books. Therapy is wonderful. You should all get therapy. I highly endorse it. Sorry, Jimmy said, "Wow." So I noticed, you put time into something and you want to see some success. Lawyers are cheaper than therapy. That's right.
That is false.
It depends on your insurance.
It does. And it depends on the lawyer's billable hours, right?
That's right. Jimmy said he will work for free for anyone who comments in this chat. So
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did get that in my direct messages earlier.
That's right. No, so I was like, well, I'm spending all this time writing it. Like, I wish I had more people coming to check out the website. And so I was like, maybe I should do some more indie comic reviews. And Heather Antos, wonderful,
Fantastic.
love her. She was doing one of those Signal Boost Sundays, and I was like, "Hey, I review." Stop it, my kids need to eat. Thank you. I was like, "Hey, I review comics. If anyone wants to send me some comics, like, I will check it out." And at that time I was just reviewing everything, and so about like 5 gigs of comics later, I was like, oh no, what have I done? But like, it was really cool. Like, Ryan O'Sullivan sent me Void Trip, and like, that was before he wrote Fearscape, and I was like, oh, this is good. I'm starting to get like Image comics and like other stuff sent to me, and it just kind of grew until it was unmanageable and I was tearing my fur out. And then I was like, Krista, I need help. Would you want to come aboard? And they were they very politely said no. No, I'm just kidding. They volunteered to help, and they're excellent at drawing boundaries, and they were like, hey, like, I'm still gonna do my knowledgeable cabbage thing. I'll do this, and I'm gonna do like 60 other projects too, if that's cool. And I was like, yeah, awesome, do it. And we went through other writers helping out, and like, when people volunteer their time, you kind of have to accept that they will come in for a little while and then they will depart. And except for Jimmy, who is never allowed to leave, because we have him in a cage. But yeah, it grew, and like, more and more folks started staying on, and like, over the pandemic we had to shut down because my wife and I were working full time, and then both of our kids were home, and we were like homeschooling and parenting and working, and it was nuts. And I was like, I can't write reviews. I can't even edit the reviews that we got in. And Wells, who was just a writer at the time, a reviewer at the time, was like, hey, what if I edited? So when he stepped up, that really got things moving again. And he probably planned to do it just for like a month or two until we got on our feet. And then a year and a half later, he's still here. Yeah. But that's how things grow. It's just organic. And then, we put a call out for more contributors, and then we grow more, and we realize, like, hey, we can do more. There's a need to do more investigative journalism. There's a need to do more interviews. And so we grow, and then, just analyze and go, what else can we do? What else do we want to do? And ever since then, it's been phenomenal. Like, Jimmy came on, started doing reviews, then started doing interviews. Then we were like, hey, uh, you're amazing. Why don't you be our interview editor? And then, like, folks like Byron came on, and he's like, hey, let's do a YouTube show
Mm-hmm.
called Kickstart My Heart, and we cover Kickstarters. Grant came on and was just like, hey, I just want to do a podcast. Can I hit, like, it was like, great, we'll give you a platform for that. He's like, awesome. And then
That's
he
awesome.
started. Like, I realized that that's one of the things that I love, is just giving a platform for people to talk
Mm-hmm.
about comics all in one place, and kind of fostering that platform, but also that connection with all of us squatches and with the comics universe at large.
No, that's really amazing the way all those folks just gravitate, and you see someone doing some just really good work and hearing that they're a great person to work with,
Yeah,
and just more and more folks will gravitate towards you. So that translated to a really big year for Comic Book Yeti in
yeah.
2021.
We the Action Lab piece was really big for us, and kind of a sea change in that, like, we do more than just reviews and interviews. And one thing that is nice about not making any money is that, if you're an LLC, uh, and someone, like, I, I'm not giving legal advice here, but we didn't have to worry too much about someone trying to stop us from telling the truth,
Mm-hmm.
by, like, threatening a lawsuit.
Right.
And not to say that they would do that, but
But you
we're
ask
like,
those questions first.
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
hey, can we do this? And other websites, other journalism and criticism websites did not want to cover anything like that because they were worried about the fallout.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, hey, let's do this. Like, this is really important to the community. Like, a lot of times a whisper network does not work, and you need something published so that when people are Googling, they are aware of things to watch out for.
Mm-hmm. I know we appreciated that because when that was starting to all foment, it was about the time when we were getting ready to send out our first couple contracts,
Mm-hmm.
and we just kind of put the pause on those and said, "Hey, we've got something together to the parties that we need to sound to, but all this is going on. Give us a chance to let all this come out, and so we can kind of learn a little bit from that and make sure that just out of our own ignorance or whatever, we're not inadvertently making some of these same kinds of mistakes."
Right.
And through that, it was a good bit of confirmation for us because we didn't do any of like the egregious things, but we also picked out a couple of spots where like we could tighten up the language on this, or we could make this more specific, or oh, we've you know got this paragraph where I think we left some stuff that was more just to be like understood rather than explicitly stating it. So just let's add another sentence.
Yeah.
So
I love that about Band of Bards, because it's like, it's like you guys are watching all of this happening in real time, and then pivoting to try to adjust to be the best publisher that you can be for the work, but also for creators. And that is really cool. I wish more publishers were like that.
thanks. I mean, we've we're at a brand new spot ourselves as I try to talk and read the comments at the same time. But that's something that we feel we need to do to show some sort of credibility because
Yeah.
we don't have a pile of work to be standing on at this point. So you find the different ways to show how credible you are, and you guys have obviously helped out a lot with that, just from some of the coverage you've done, and also from the very gracious reviews and previews you've given to both Final Gamble and Prospects.
Hell yeah,
Um,
for
but,
sure.
but so yeah. Anything else from 2021 you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, so go on YouTube and find Comic Book Yeti, and please like, subscribe, comments, do all the things. Go on your favorite podcasting platform and look up Into the Comics Cave with Comics Heartthrob, Grant Stoy. And please subscribe to that. Please leave comments on iTunes, and ratings and reviews. All of that helps. Um, so yeah, that would be great. We started all of that. Jimmy just wrapped up an ungodly uh, project where he interviewed so many letterers, and that's one thing that we have always wanted to do at Comic Book Yeti, even before I brought on any team members, is um, understand what creators who don't get the spotlight as often do, and try to shine that spotlight on them. So when Jimmy said, hey, I want to interview like 30 letterers, I was like, number one, are you crazy? This is the holiday season. But okay. And he did, man. Like, it was incredible seeing Todd Klein, Aditya Bidikar, Hassan Otsman Elhau. Like, it's God, just like so many. Jim Campbell, Justin Birch. Like, it was phenomenal, and seeing how everyone thinks about it differently, but where they think of it the same. Like, almost all of them were like, I love the problem solving aspect of lettering and the puzzle aspect. That was really cool.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I want to do more of that. And I want Jimmy to do more of that as soon as possible. Um,
Hey, I like it. I mean, the letters obviously don't get a lot of the glamour from everything,
no, they
and a lot
don't.
of
A lot of times
times,
they're not even on the cover.
yeah, and that's pathetic because like without a letterer, you've got a bunch of pictures and the like story, right?
Yeah,
But they're often just kind of pushed at the bottom or off the page at all, and it's like you, they're almost like strippers, right? Letterers are people too.
that's right.
So,
That's
I always
right.
think of that in the back of my head, and I'm like, I don't know if anybody else can get that joke, but I think of it. It's in the back of my head every time I think of letterers.
Comic strippers.
Yes, they're people
You get
too.
it?
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, I would love to do that for folks in production, for prints and printing, and some of these other jobs that are less in the
yeah,
spotlight. Editors.
yeah. That's one another thing where the editors are often left off of the credits, or even just like the book designers themselves.
Yes.
Um,
Oh man, if we
that
could get Tim
is not
Daniel.
something that I can do. Chris is the one who's stuck having to do all of that artistic work, but he likes it. But it's eye opening to see everything that he has to do in order to put together the digital comics and then put together the file for the printer, which if anybody's never done that or hasn't seen that back end stuff, those
Yeah.
are completely different formats. And then you just got all the other staff at a publisher, which for us it's just it's two, right? But like at like an established publisher, you're gonna have a lot of different folks, either in the marketing departments. You've got the people coordinating the logistics of going out to the printer or out to the distributor. There's so many different jobs that have to go in to get that single comic book out to you, the reader.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see a union start up to kind of
Yes.
help and support
Oh,
those folks.
that's so exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Very cool happening with all that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's 2021 was huge for us with all those things, and just all the writers who started at the beginning of the year and stuck around.
Yeah,
And It's really nice having writers stick around for that long because all the other ones went to the store for a pack of cigarettes and just never came back.
It
So
happens. Yeah.
no, not all the other ones. Dan, who does a lot of the book and scholarly article reviews, has been around for a few years. Jason has been here for a few years, so they're alumni at this point.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, stay tuned for more in 2022.
I'm excited. Before we get into that, it looks like you got your comic book Yeti shirt on.
I do. I've
Yeah.
got my. It's like a sweater. Um, yeah.
Very nice.
So Krista always makes fun of me because every time we chat, I'm wearing a different comic book Yeti thing, and I was like, I really don't like the modern style, so I just like buy all my stuff from my own brand on Threadless, and then dress up my kids in them too, and make them parade
Nice.
around in comic book Yeti stuff.
I was looking for mine, and then I realized when the shirts you sent us, I
Yeah,
sent the T-shirt over to Chris, and I kept the tank. So
yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, that's right. My comic book Yeti shirt's tucked away in the summer clothes.
No, I know my Anfo tank is tucked away in the summer
Yeah.
clothes now. I almost wore the Band of Bards shirt, and then I was like, well, I'm going to be wearing the sweater over it, so you won't be able to see. But I've got the jackets on because the heat's out. So yeah.
No, gotta have your own. I was trying to find the link to your Threadless shop.
Oh, let me throw it. Oh, I don't think
Yeah.
I can throw it in the chat, but yeah, it's impossible to search for, which is
Yeah, that
annoying.
Threadless has some neat things, but
Here, I will
it
DM
is a
you.
pain in the butt to try to search for anything specific on it.
And you can just follow us on Twitter at Comic Book Yeti,
Yeah.
and we've got a link tree that is growing steadily. Um, like, why are you again? Okay, I can answer all that. So Elise says, Yeti origin story, please. You can all just read it. I'm not going to read it to you. I'm not your dad. No. Okay. So the Yeti thing came about because I just was like, well, what am I going to call myself? Like, what would the brand be? And so just as a gag, I was talking to Dane, just who I mentioned earlier as their lawyer friend and fellow comic book fan. And I'm like, I don't know. If I just said like Matt Ligeti Comic Book Yeti, and he's like, that's actually pretty good. And so I was like, I could be a Yeti. That sounds kind of fun. And I feel like Yetis are kind of part of the zeitgeist now. Like I turn on any kids programming and I see Yetis. So like, what's the rainbow thing on Netflix that my daughter loves? I can't remember.
I don't
Anyway,
know.
so I'm like, yeah, Yeti rhymes with Ligeti, and Yetis are really fun, and you can make them cute, or you can make them scary, you can make them whatever. I love it. Like it's got legs, and I'm really bad at overthinking things. Like I don't overthink things very much. I just jump. Yes, hairy legs. I just jump right into them, much to Krista's chagrin sometimes. And so I was like, yeah, Yeti, let's go with it. First comic I read. So I used to play T-ball last year. No, when I was a kid. And my dad, to get me to play T-ball better, said, hey, I will take you to a comic book store, and then like every time you make contact with the ball, I'll buy you another comic. I did not get a lot of comics. I was that bad at sports. I continue to be that bad at sports. I the T pitched a perfect game when I was there. But my dad took me to the comic book store, and I just remember it being owned by a kindly old couple. And the lady there, I mean, in my head, she was ancient, but she was probably about like 40. And that's how little kid brains work.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, do you feel like you don't quite fit in? And I was like, yeah, I guess I haven't done that much self reflection. I'm 7.
Lady, I'm 7.
Right. And she's like, I got you. X-Men, Amazing Spider-Man. Kids love
Cool.
Spider-Man. X-Men are awesome. Here you go. And so I had that, and every birthday and around Christmas, and on the rare case that I did not totally suck at whatever sport I was doing, for a while there, I got comics, and it was almost always X-Men or Spider-Man. My grandpa would get me some comics from the dollar bins, and it was just like a package for $1. And so it was like Nick Fury, Agents of Shield was
Ooh.
probably the most well-known one. Everything else was like, I don't know what it was. Um, but he got me comic book cards, which were huge when I
Ooh.
was growing up in the 90s. And so I learned everything from these things, reading the back of the
Yeah.
cards until I like ruined the cards by carrying them around with me. And like, oh, my Marvel masterpieces. My dad just sent me all this stuff. He's like, get your shit out of my house. And I was like, oh, my babies, you're here, you're back. And so it was really cool seeing that. And I was like, oh, this is why my daughter loves LOL girls and all of that stuff. It's the same feeling when you open a pack of
Yeah.
cards and you smell it, and
Mm-hmm.
then you get the hologram or the
Oh,
acetate ones, or like, God, the feeling of that was just magic.
yeah. And those old Fleer trading
Yes.
cards. Open the
Yes.
pack a little bit, and
Yeah, you have to. You
they
have
have
to
to.
smell them.
Yeah. I don't care what
Um,
anybody says. If you don't like that smell of those Fleer cards, yeah, I don't know what's wrong with you.
yeah, seriously.
Yeah, it's better
So,
than Huff and Glue.
right. And so, I quit reading them for a while, but just, between money and trying to get girls interested in me in high school.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll happen.
yeah. And then after I got married, I was like, well, I don't have to worry about girls anymore. Bring on the
Mm-hmm.
comics. And so my buddy Dane lived in, like, we knew each other from Columbia, Missouri when we were both at Mizzou, but we ended up moving into the same building in Chicago. And he was like, well, you're here. I know where you live. You can just borrow my X-Men collection. And so he got me started on Joss Whedon's astonishing run, and all the way up through the present at that time, which was Bendis writing
Okay.
X-Men. And so the Bendis stuff took me a while because that man loves to throw some balloons on some paper. Um, but yeah, and then I signed up for Marvel Unlimited, and I read like all the other stuff that he didn't have. And I so between that and the Humble Bundle with Image, I was like, okay, maybe I'm a comics guy. I read more and more. I read until my reader was sore. I signed up for Hoopla, and I read all the library ones that I could find. And then around that time, that's when I started Comic Book Yeti, and people just started sending me comics for free. And then
Which
now
is
I
nice.
run Comic Book Yeti, and I don't have time to read comics, but I do when I can. The puns have been around for forever. Um, I am just that annoying. They did not come with fatherhood. It was just, maybe it's a writer thing. Maybe it's a tiny man who's 5'6" thing. I don't know. It's my brand. I make the puns. I make the puns.
Make it depends. We all have our thing.
That's right.
Um,
Puns and butts.
yeah,
Puns and butts.
exactly. And there's not a damn thing wrong with that.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good questions from Elise. If you
Yes, I
didn't know who
appreciate it.
Brave Teapot was, that's Elise, who will have a few different titles coming out with us.
I know. I'm so
Yeah.
excited.
She, it's like a little factory inside her head for all these stories. And it's like, she encouraged us to put a channel in our Discord that's intentionally bad pitches.
Yes.
And, like, even these pitches that are supposed to just be jokes and like it's supposed to be intentionally bad, they're good. So
I love it.
I don't think
And you
she's
picked that out
No,
again.
I don't think she's capable of coming up with like a genuinely bad idea. So
I believe it for sure. All right.
excuse me.
Ooh,
I got the asthmas.
yes.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted. Nice. But yeah, did you want to talk about creator decorum, folks?
I think that would be a very helpful thing.
Yes.
I am just trying to pull up the Discord since I mentioned it.
Yeah, you
I'll
should.
throw it in there. So, since we ought to. Oh man, too many places to click on. Too many windows open for my tiny little eyes. If anybody's interested in seeing some of that sweet, sweet
There you go.
Discord chat, dropping the links for you. Um, yeah, let's talk about that because you had posted some tweets I think a few weeks back, and it prompted me to ask if you'd like to come on. But just
Yeah.
you know, a little venting of frustrations about how folks will just constantly barrage you, saying, "Hey, did you review my comic yet? Hey, is
Yeah.
my comic gonna be up?" You know, I think it's important for everybody and us too to just know some of these finer points, like how should I approach a comic book reviewer if I've got a work, or is my work too small for you to have the time to review it or look at it,
Mhm.
and just like what kind of formats are preferred, right? Does someone want to have like a well done press release coming with maybe some preview pages or a fully done digital comic for review?
Yeah. Okay. Those are a lot of really good questions. And some of this we've outlined on our site. We've got if you just Google, um, how do I get my comic book reviewed? We should be one of the top, if not the top, uh, result there. We've got a newsletter that I do not um, that I have done one uh, thing of. Oh, here we go. I can send that link over. Um, but I put it on our website, and it says, "I emailed my comic. Where's my review?" And that is kind of a follow up to the submissions, where it's like what you should expect when you're expecting a review. Um, and the thing is like things have changed for us. Like I used to try to review everything that came our way, and you kind of adjust based on your expectations. Like you expect if it comes out from the big two, uh, like Marvel or DC, everything better be buttoned up real tight. And so if you get like a spelling error in there, you're like, come on, guys, like you've got a whole team for this. But a spelling, like a typo or a spelling error in indie comics, I'm like, I just shoot a note and I'm like, hey, here's where your errors are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you like maybe you fix them for your next printing or something like that?
Yeah.
And like, or some of them just tell me to shut up, but which is fine. um, but yeah, like we like when people send us a link to a not enormous PDF hosted on Google Drive or
Mm-hmm.
Box or Dropbox. That's great. What we do then is we add it to, I say we, Krista adds it to our server. We've got a pool of comic books to be reviewed, and a lot of them are split up based on publisher. But some of them we have just like indies, and it's like a loose gathering of comics. Krista also um, looks at each comic to be or that's sent our way, and they decide if it deserves to move forward and be in that pool of comics. Because we have like a terabyte of comics to be reviewed right now, and so like there's only so much that we can do. Like we're all volunteers we're we have full-time jobs, we have families, we have things that we want to do that aren't comics related, and that's okay. And I've spent 2 years, the first 2 years doing this, and feeling like that's not okay, and just feeling like I wasn't doing enough, and I still feel like I'm not doing enough, but I'm a little bit more okay with that. But anyway, so we can't review everything, and we don't like to tell people that we're not going to review their comic, because then they get very angry with us. Unfortunately, we have only had negative experiences with that. So we just say, hey, if we review if we review your comic, we will let you know. We try not to post reviews just tearing a comic apart, because that's not helpful for anyone.
Yeah.
We try to offer balanced reviews. Like, we do have a section that's what works, and we have a section that's what doesn't work. And that could be phrased as what might not work for you, but that doesn't work as well for SEO or scanning, so we're keeping it. But yeah, we try to balance the critiques, but still be constructive and helpful. So yeah, it's anyway. So that comes in. If it passes Krista's muster, it gets added to the pool. But our writers, they review what they want. I'm not going to tell them what to review, because I'm not paying them. And so until I can pay all our writers a living wage, I let them review what they want, because they're volunteering their time. And so sometimes that is every issue of like one very specific run.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's something that's been out for a while. Sometimes folks do help out with like the indie self-published stuff, but a lot of the times like the bigger publishers get more attention, because if we don't review some of their stuff every month, we don't get any more review copies.
Yeah. And that's obviously going to be something that'll drive more traffic to your site, which
and
then helps all the other smaller indies and self-published folks. So like there's that give and take there, right?
There is. And yeah, we need that balance. And so what we're trying to do right now is bring on more folks to help write. And if people can also help Jimmy interview every creator, because Jimmy does the lion's share of
a lot of interviews.
Yeah, of interviews. But also we need more folks reviewing, because we have so many. Yeah, exactly. The weird balance between what you have to do so you can keep doing what you want to do. That's what the line that we have to walk constantly. And so, yeah, we want to get more reviewers on, but that's going to tax Wells more. And so, either Wells has to work twice as hard or twice as much, or we bring on another editor. But then how is that going to work with having multiple editors doing the same thing? Like, it's just, we have to grow, but there's going to be growing pains and figuring stuff out as we go along too. And so that's all Comic Book Yeti is figuring out stuff as we go along. Like, it was built for just a way for me to talk about comics. So it is, and I will get to that question very soon, Desi. Yeah, it was built as a way for me to talk about comics. And so I never planned on having to train people to write in our weird as hell format. And so that's also a learning curve, and that prevents a lot of people from writing for us. And a ton of people have left, and they're like, dude, you want me to do this for free? This is like an hour reading and rereading and taking notes of a comic book, and then and then writing the review, which takes another few hours, and then like all of that. I'm getting so off the creator decorum thing. I'm sorry. I am prone to rambling.
Well, it's important for a lot of folks, I think, to understand all the work that does go into this. So it's not just like, hey, I sent you my PDF. How come you didn't like read it in half an hour and take another half hour to write up some shitty review?
And that's the thing, is you don't want us just writing up a quick review.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good. It's not going to be helpful. It's not going to be something anyone wants to read. Like if all you care about, I'm so sorry, I will get you a pull quote. As soon as I have heat in my house. So yeah.
It's like Stewie going after Brian for his money.
Where's my money, Brian? No, it's like if all you want is attention on your comic, write up a press release or
Yeah,
pay Melissa Mazzaros at Don't Hide PR to write you a press release,
absolutely.
and then have her bug us until we post the press release on our site. We will absolutely do that. And again, if all you want is attention on your comic, you can get that doing interviews, you can get that doing press releases, you can get that doing so many other things than a review. And we love reviews, we love to do reviews, but out of the pool of comics that we have for reviewing, it is not very likely that we are going to get to everyone's comic
Yeah.
book.
And if you don't know Melissa or Don't Hide PR, threw that link up there in the chat because Melissa's helped us out quite a bit at the Bards, and she's a fantastic person to work with. Just a fantastic person
Yeah,
all around, and you absolutely do get your money's worth. So don't shy away from those costs because that what Melissa can do is pretty phenomenal.
agreed.
Can't talk enough about her.
And yeah, we do some press releases. Like, send us the press release, we'll put it on the site. Send us images. If you can send us anything exclusive, that's really helpful. Let us know that it's exclusive, and don't send it to another website and say that it's exclusive, because that that creates problems. I have been very bad at posting all of the press releases that we get because we get so many. So if you bug me, that helps. That is one time where it is okay to bug me. But also, um, we're trying to hire someone on who is going to help get the press releases published. Again, it's a growth issue. So there's only so many hours in the day, and currently, my kids are home all the time because the schools are closing down, thanks COVID. So that is even less time that I have to devote to this. And that's why I probably get really pissy when folks are like, "I sent you a PDF of my comic yesterday. Where is my review?" And sometimes they wait a week, but yeah, I'll get people checking in, and if I know them, if we have a good relationship, like Kristen, Elise, like, feel free to bug me. That is totally fine. But if I don't know you and you're demanding things of me, that's not fine.
Yeah.
And we have seen enough bother. We have seen enough privileged, entitled white dudes in comics, and we do not want we do not want more. And while I don't like to gatekeep, part of journalism and the responsibility of journalists is to be that gatekeeper. And I can't read it.
Oh, it's too small, but
It's too little.
yeah, Batman is doing the slaps. Yeah, we all hate the gatekeeping part, right? But I think that there's like a line between just dickish gatekeeping and being a toll collector.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think like the one that really bugged me, and we try to keep it light on Comic Book Yeti, but every now and then stuff happens and it's like, all right, you fuckers, listen up. Can I say goodness? I'm so sorry.
No, you can.
Okay.
I've actually this is maybe the first week where I have kind of been on decent about my cursing. I don't
Really?
know why.
Maybe it's the magic of the Yeti.
It probably is. You're very cuddly.
That's right. But yeah, it's this guy was like, "Hey, I need to drum up some pre-orders, so I'll be on your podcast if you want." And it's like, yeah, I was like, okay, so some red flags, but
Yeah.
I don't expect everyone to be perfect communicators either. So, like, the red flags go off, but you're like, okay, like, let's just see how this goes. Like, maybe they're just not the best at communication, and
Yeah.
that's fine. And then like he starts telling me about like how important getting pre-orders is when you're going up against other publishers, and it's like, yeah, bro, I know. That's we understand that. And then I said, like, go ahead, send us a review PDF. If we can't get you on the podcast, well, like, we've got other interviewers on the team. Maybe we can do a review for the comic. And he's like, I'm going to need whatever interview you do to go out with enough lead time to reach comic readers and stores ahead of the release. And it's like, okay, so that gives us like 3 days. Yeah, that's not going to happen. And then he says, if that is not achievable, then it is best that we do not proceed. And it's like, okay, like we are. And then he had something built in to the next paragraph where he's like, so I'm sending you the final print file. By accepting this email, you're accepting my terms that this PDF is to stay private between us. Emails act as legally admissible documents in Western nations, so leaks can be litigated against to protect this pre-release work. And it's like, okay, at this point, I'm like, this is like, this guy can open up his own red flag store. And this is too much trouble. Like, I'm out. I'm just trying to be like, hey, like, I'm sorry, we are not going to cover this. We like, thank you for your time. Because it's like, I've already put in more time than I want to answering these emails and reading them and responding, and I'm done. I've got too many other things to do to keep on dealing with this.
I got somewhere for that to go.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. Yeah. My son is obsessed.
That's going in the trap
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How to burn a bridge in 100 words or less. Yeah. And so, and he ended that email saying, sorry for the above, I'm a nice guy, honestly. I was like, oh, this needs to go on the nice guy summary. Wow. Yeah, that is, and like, we get a fair amount of stuff like this. And, we, like, some guy kept on pestering us, and I was like, I am not going to review your comic that is just Jesus getting high for 30 pages. Like, there's nothing here. And he was like, I do not like the Yeti. I regret-y. And I was like, okay, that's all right.
And now I'm gonna go eat some spaghetti.
That's right. So
it's like the part in Princess Bride where they just keep rhyming.
Oh my god! No more rhymes, and I mean it. Anybody want a peanut?
Oh no!
Yes, my people. Oh man.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that we get. But it's like I said, Dave Chisholm, phenomenal creator, great guy, mega talented. He would just drop in every few months, and he's like, "Hey, yes," and it was for Chasing the Bird. And I was like,
just finished it today. I went super slow across a bunch of the chapters.
Yeah,
and I just read.
You have to read his stuff slowly, man. It's like,
oh god, you have to
absorb.
Like seriously, you get a page like that,
right? And that's the thing is like, he's so talented and he's so nice, and it's like I was just like, I promise we will review this.
Yeah.
Give us time. And he's like, cool, man. I just don't want to drop off your radar. Like that's it. And that is polite, and that's a good way to do it. And it's like, if you're gonna check in, give us like 1 to 3 months between each check-in. It does help, like squeaky wheel and all that.
Yeah.
If you're too squeaky, you go in the trash can.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Right.
a fine line between too squeaky, but like, man, if I think just put yourself in our place and go, okay, like they've got a lot going on, and like if someone was bugging you once a week to
Uh-huh.
do something for them, you would not want to do something for them.
Yeah.
And this isn't a
You know, if
public service. Like
somebody
we're
tries to like send you a message and then an email and then they message you again overnight while you're sleeping.
yeah, and that message is, hey, I'm outside of your house, let me in.
and
Yeah,
and
it's
yeah, that's a really good point there too. Is that we're not paying you to do these; we're asking you to do them.
right.
Yeah, it's
And
it's it's like the free comic book day, right? All publishers love free comic book day and to push the comic shops to do it, but no one ever tells you that the comic shops are forced to buy those books and then give them for
yes,
free.
exactly. Yeah, do it for the love of reviewing.
Yeah,
Exactly. It's like, man, we are doing this for the love of reviewing and love of comics, but we are not promising anyone anything.
yeah,
So it's, we do what we can, and that's all we are going to promise. And like, I'm sure that people we like probably do get some like unconscious or at least subconscious bias towards stuff that we review. Um, so that helps. Whereas people we don't know, it's a little bit harder. I really do wish that there were more websites out there. Like, as much as I want everyone to write for Comic Book Yeti, I would love more comic book websites out there, and I'd love for them to focus on
mm,
the indies, like the unsigned comics and creators, and then
yeah,
the smaller publishers, because where so much of the cutting edge creative is coming from. Once you reach a certain level, it seems like you stop taking chances. And I don't know. I prefer comics that show me something I haven't seen before. That's
yeah.
why I love like everything Ram V touches. Yep. Got anything? Yes.
Top of
Swamp
the pile.
Thing. So
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
cool. That's been pretty cool. I've enjoyed that one. Did he do Layla Star?
Yeah. Yeah, he did
Yeah,
Layla Star.
the
I mean,
trade for that came out this week, I think.
nice.
I have to grab that. I got like issues 1 and 3, and then I'm like I'm just missing too much
Oh,
of it. I stopped buying it, wait for the trade.
yeah.
But that was super cool. And that was one that got me because of the sweet metallic cover.
Yeah, exactly. I love those. Tim has a very
Kinda.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I need to answer Desi's
Oh
question.
yeah. Let me
Let
go
me
back
let
and
me
find
go
it.
back up.
Oh my gosh.
Any part of a review that's my favorite to explore.
Ah yeah.
So I don't get to review much anymore. Magic Shelf of Hoarding, yes. Um, but when I did, um, I think when I first started, what I loved was the way our review format works is we have to talk a little bit about what the writer did and what the artist did, but also what the colorist did and what the letterer did. And that taught me so much about comics because I wouldn't let myself off the hook. And I naturally gravitated toward the writing, and I kind of had to learn more about the art and the coloring and the lettering. And you'll see if you dig through our old stuff on the website, we have like a colorist's what and why and a letterer's what and why article, um, that I think is on Creator Resource also. And it's actually me just teaching myself about what they do and why it's important. Um, but if you're interested, you can always look up like colorist jam or letterer jam on like hashtag colorist jam, hashtag letterer jam on Twitter. And it's really cool seeing how each colorist colors the same page, or each letterer letters the same page. And so there's that. There's just digging in and having to go back through a comic and go like, why did this work for me? Like, you can read through a comic so fast and just like, you devour it and you move on. But then having to go through slowly and sip it like a fine tea. Like, I always think of, I was a big Chuck Palahniuk fan back in the day, and his book Rant. His mom, I think it was his mom, would put like tacks or glass shards in cakes that she would bake. And people knew that, and so they would eat it extra slowly because they couldn't get out of eating it in front of her, but they knew to like watch out for the sharp things. And it's like, when you absorb something, 8 years of work that you can read in an hour, 100%. Like, it's these, you get so much more when you pour over something than when you just devour it and move on. And that's something that we don't think about because we're a consumer culture of like, well, I just have to consume all of this media and binge watch and binge read and binge eat, and you don't sit and enjoy the things.
See, now my wife always makes fun of me for how slow I read compared to her. And my college roommates would always make fun of how slow I ate compared to them. And I'd be like, I just savor.
Yeah, you're just savoring. You are enjoying it. And like, when I think what really got me was Ram V's what's his vault? Why am I drawing a blank on this? It's like one of my favorite comics ever. I'm gonna kick myself for this later. These Savage Shores. God, I'm kicking myself now. So, I did a review for the first issue, did a review for the second issue. Everyone else is reviewing it at the same time. And Ram V tweeted, like, I think it's really funny that no one has figured out what the comic is about yet. I know, thank you. I should be fired. And that got to me, man. Like, it just got stuck in my craw. And I'm like, what is this fucking comic about? And like, I read it and I reread it, and then issue 3 came out and I read that and I reread that, and I was like, okay, I think I know where this is going, but now I'm not so sure. And then issue 4 came out and I was like, I've got it. And well, no, I read it and then I reread it, and then I'm walking my daughter around and pushing her in the stroller. And it was kind of like a routine during the spring, summer, and early fall where I just do a lap, and it's kind of like my way to think about things and get her to sleep because she won't sleep ever. And it just clicked for me, and it was like, that son of a bitch. And then I started like feverishly typing notes in my phone and like steering the stroller, and it's starting to veer one way or the other. And I'm like, she's starting to wake up, and I'm like, no, I need this. And so then I take the notes and I start writing the big, like, in-depth article. And then I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. And so I reread the whole series, and I'm like, this is it. And it's like, I never would have done that otherwise. Like, I would have read it, reviewed it, and been like, yeah, okay, this is, maybe it's Game of Thrones with vampires. I don't know. Like, sure, that sounds like a great line. And like, spending the time with a piece of media, man, it makes a huge difference. Like, the music that matters the most to me and has mattered the most to me in my life are the albums where I sat with the lyrics and the liner notes, and I read them along with listening to the music.
Yeah. So
like,
I can't tell you how many times I played the tape for Dookie, and
yes,
oh yeah, I don't know what these lyrics mean because I'm only in 5th grade, but
right, I know. Yeah, it's there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
Take the time to enjoy things, people.
Absolutely. I also have to thank you because now I know that it's Ram V and not Ram 5. So
That's right.
saves a little egg on my face.
That's right. Yeah, I think that the folks at Thought Bubble were joking with him a bit and asking him what he did with the other 4 Rams. The depth of my humps
They're
tonight.
all variants.
That's right. Oh
Oh,
man.
that's
So yeah,
awesome.
just realize there are people on the other side of the screen, folks. We're doing our best, and we promise we'll let you know if and when we review something or want to set up an interview. It's just treat us like a friend and not an employee, or maybe not a close friend if you treat your close friends like shit. But
Someone you respect
yeah,
and need something from.
treat us like your abuela. Um,
I just got those the Abuela hot chocolate tabs the other day.
yes,
Oh, it's so good.
I love that little bit of spice.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna make some tonight.
Yeah, do it.
Cool. Oh, what up? Was there anything else in there, or can I?
Yeah, feel free to open it up to questions. Should I go
Yeah.
full David S. Pumpkins? Any questions?
See, I've never seen that SNL skit, and
Oh my
I
god,
know the reference is like totally lost on me
that's your
until
homework.
someone mentions it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, someday I really gotta go back and find it,
Yeah.
and then it just goes out the brain.
Oh god. So spaghetti was one of the first things I made my wife because it's so easy to make. And she was the first lady I ever cooked for.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember the first thing I made for my wife. I think she came over to my house when I was in Killeen, Texas, and I want to say it was like a pork chop or some sort of small steak with some potatoes and other stuff,
Yeah.
which was really nice. And then we went and she was watching me play a pickup game of hockey,
Hmm.
which was like a awesome, desirable date. And in my very first shift, like within 30 seconds, someone took a shot. Their stick hit mine, came up, got me, and I played for like the another minute on the ice. I come back to the bench and the guys are like, "Hey man, you need to go get stitches." I'm like, "What? It doesn't even hurt." And get off, go to the locker room, and I'm just like gushing blood.
Oh my
I'm
god.
like, I'm like, fuck! I get all
Oh
mad because I wanted to play.
yeah.
Get changed, come out, and I find Robin, and I'm like, I need to find a hospital, I guess. And so we're like, in Round Rock, Texas, at the rink was at. So it's like just a little bit by Austin. And I'm like, I don't even know what the closest hospital is, but like one of my bosses lived nearby, so I had to call him up and be like, "Hey, Colonel Bricker, don't be alarmed, but where's the closest hospital to you?" So get to the hospital, and I think I waited like 4 hours to get all of like 3 stitches. And so Robin, for one of our first dates, I cooked for her. Went to like 2 minutes of hockey game, and then 4 hours in the ER.
I mean, if that doesn't bring you together, I don't know what does. Right?
Yeah, lucky her.
Yeah. It's okay. Second date with my wife. We got a big pitcher of frozen margaritas and I was pouring it for her and it wasn't coming out and I ended up dumping it all over her lap.
Nice.
Yeah.
Still good.
Still good. Still good. It's like, we got straws. We got this.
It's frozen. It can still be consumed.
Right.
Oh gosh,
Uh,
the dumb things we do.
I know.
Um, so yeah, very smooth segue into. Just was gonna mention, right? So we've got the Chris and I are fervently reading through all the submissions for From the Static,
Yeah.
and I've come across a whole bunch of Yetis in the submissions.
My Yetis, my
Yes.
Squatches. I love them.
And say, Chris and I have a lot of hard decisions coming up in the next few weeks, but I think every one of the Yeti submissions has been impressive. So
Oh, that's
you
so
got a
exciting.
great team of people who not just review comics and get to know the mechanics of comics, but they can create comics themselves too. So I
They're
want to
also
give
talented,
props to
man.
the team.
We are so lucky to have them. It's yeah, really lucky. So I'm going to hold on to them tight and never let them go. We let
Just,
Jared go, and now look at him. He's making comics like a jerk. No, I'm just kidding. I love you,
just, make,
Jared.
just make sure you hold on to Jimmy by the neck.
That's right. You
You know,
have to.
like that guy in the Houston Astros game.
Yes, yes. That's right.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, as long as no one lets him out of his interview cage, we should be good.
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Of the
What
great.
is a great comics game?
That's right.
I don't know. Um, is that Van Schreiber? Is that what you're talking about? The Great Comics Game? I
Like
probably
all
shouldn't
of us.
say that. Jimmy,
Exactly.
you're the lawyer. Can I say that without being in trouble?
Right. No, I know. It's like, yeah, I was telling Tim before the show, I was like, I mean, how hard could it be to write a comic? And then I'm like crying 5 minutes later, like, why is this so difficult?
It's always fun and easy to kind of like get into the general plot and idea in the world building, and
Mhm.
then you just continue to get lost in the world building and like, oh, I gotta like actually write some script and dialogue
Right.
at some point.
I love the like just general amorphous concept and world building, sure. But when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to like pen to paper,
Yeah, I mean, right, world building, super fun.
yeah. Oh my God, look at that.
Yeah, I got the whiteboards for me, and my grandson's got the blackboard.
Yes.
Move, camera, move. My desk is too deep, and my stubby arms can't reach like halfway across.
And my arms are too short.
I really am a little T Rex.
Silly. Yes.
Pepe?
Hey. Oh
Um,
no. I am running out of battery faster. It must be having this lovely ring light plugged in.
uh,
So if you
yeah.
have any questions,
I say we're heading close to that 90-minute point where we've
yeah.
learned through study and experience that we should probably cut it off at about 90 minutes. But does anybody have some burning questions, or
Well,
does
if
anybody
anything's burning, I would get a cream.
mm-hmm.
But yeah,
does
any
anybody want to shave the Yeti?
Ew.
You.
Hey, don't yuck his yum.
Mm.
That's right. No, thank you so much for having me on. Though this is fun. We gotta. Oh, hello, Miss Rena.
Oh,
The pizza was so good. God, it's like I was telling Tim earlier. My daughter ate like almost an entire pizza to herself, and she's only 6 years old. So she ate like her size in pizza. it it takes one Yeti, but we have to eat in bowls. Ever since my wife spilled a um, entire plate of spaghetti on our carpet, staining it forever. Yeah, only bowls allowed. If the Yetis worked at City. Um, yes. Oh, you just found us? Wonderful. Hello. Welcome.
that's
No,
okay. It will be recorded at the YouTube. So I think once the broadcast ends, it takes a couple minutes or so for YouTube to like process it and then hang it as the video that you can go back and watch at your convenience. So don't worry if you've missed part of it or chime in halfway. It will be up there on the YouTube and the Twitch channels for you to go back and catch at your leisure.
and I will. You ever want me back just to chat comics? I'm here. So
This is good. Like I said,
yeah,
I appreciate you coming on. This is really
thanks for having me.
fun. nice to like kind of chat a little bit face to face, or
For sure.
however you want to categorize this. Um, yeah,
If I
no, that's
drop
super
off,
helpful. I'm
just
sure
my
there's gonna be a lot of folks who appreciate um, the little bit that you're shared there on the finer points of etiquette.
yeah. And if you have questions, folks, I am happy to answer those. Like if there's something I haven't answered and you want to know, just ask. I'm fine. Hit me up in my DMs.
We did throw up the comic book Yeti. Oh, see, this is why I know when it, like that 90-minute mark, I can't talk anymore.
Right.
The link for Comic Book Yeti Twitter account is up there in the chat. And we threw up the link tree. Go through the chat.
Yeah.
You'll find them.
Let's go through
There's
the
a whole
challenges.
bunch of good, helpful resources thrown up there,
Oh
including
my gosh.
our own Discord.
Yeah, of course.
Um,
Again, happy to answer any other questions and give pull quotes when I get around to them. No, it's on my list. It's in my stack next to my bed that I just need to get through. We all have it.
yeah. Uh, they're all off camera.
Right.
But I think I have about half a dozen stacks everywhere.
My wife calls them doom piles.
Uh huh. My wife calls them, get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Yeah. I have to have all my stacks in my office.
Yep. Stacks and stacks and stacks.
Yes.
Well, all right. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stacks on my stairs. What else are stairs for? They have so much room. You only need a little bit.
Yeah, they're like little built-in bookshelves.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. If no other questions, going. We This has been Band of Bards Comic Chat with Matt Ligeti, the Comic Book Yeti.
Thanks so
Otherwise,
much for having me.
yes, thank you. Everybody have a good night, and remember, follow us on Twitch, YouTube, subscribe to whatever you're watching it on. Make sure you're following the YouTube channel for Comic Book Yeti as well. And you can catch all of us on Twitter. Let's see, at Comic Book Yeti.
I'm
And
terminally online.
yeah, same. So
Thank you, everyone. I love you. You're beautiful. Goodbye.